Well, hello and welcome to Can I Say Something? What you got to say? I am so excited today. I am so excited today because of my special guest, none other than Kristyn Crowder. I'm so excited to have you on today, Kristyn, until I don't know what to do. I'm beside myself. I know you have some very important information that you can share with the audience, and I'm excited and ready to get started. What about you?
Thank you so much. I am so excited and so honored to be with you here with you today. So thank you so much for the opportunity to come on the show and share with
Well,
you and your community.
okay. Well, before we get started, why don't you tell the audience something about yourself?
Okay. Hi, my name is Kristyn Crowder. I am a licensed marriage and family therapy associate here in the state of Texas. Um, which means that I am a therapist. My training is in that of relationships. So I do a lot of couples work. I work with individuals. I also offer friendship therapy, which is not that common, but your friendships are very important, and the loss of a friendship can be very hard, and friendships go through ups and downs as well. So it's important to have a space for friends to come and talk as well. I don't quite offer family therapy, but I'm open to it if someone is interested. My
Mhm.
practice is relationship care space, and I am located in Katy, Texas.
Well, you are here and you are full with information. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, your uh, subject line, your title, your story is Me Time Magic,
Yeah.
Embracing Self-Care and Boundaries. Bold boundaries. Um, you talked a little bit in your synopsis that you have to discover signs. Sometimes we discover signs of burnout and practical self-care hacks for your busy life. We need that. I
Absolutely.
guess we need to recognize those burnout signs. And so I'm excited today because I know that you're going to touch all these things, tips to boost your mental well-being. I know that you're going to provide all this information for our viewers today because what you're talking about today is very much needed in our society today. Very much needed on today. And so I have a couple of questions that I would like to ask you. And the first one is um, tell us a bit about yourself and background, which you've already did. But I want to ask you, how did you become interested in topics of self-care, boundaries, and mental wellness? How did you get to that point?
Oh, that's such a good question. I'll try to give you the short answer. I can tell you this much. I've wanted to be a therapist since I was 14 years old. I'm much
Wow.
older than 14. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I'm much older than 14 right now. And so I'm actually living out my childhood dream as a therapist. While I went through school, we didn't really talk. We did talk about self-care for therapists, like for us as therapists, but and so that's something that shed light on self-care to me. But in practice, I learned more about establishing boundaries, utilizing more effective communication, and increasing your mental well-being. Um, as a single mother, I have a son, I have an adult child. That's a clue into how
Mhm.
old I am. I have an adult child.
Uh-huh.
And I realized that as I raised him, I really wasn't taking care of myself. I was really giving everything that I had to him. And now that
Mhm.
he's an adult, I'm realizing the importance of taking care of yourself while taking care of your others. We've all heard the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. And
Mhm.
so it's self-care is really about making sure that you are okay so that you can be there for the people around you.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that. Making sure that because you can't be of any assistance to anyone if you're not good yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, you said that, and I'm reminded of when you're flying, the reason why they tell you in the emergency to put the mask over your face first if you have children, it's because putting over their face first doesn't give you the ability to assist them in their need of help. And so many times we as women, mostly women, we have the ability to think that we're super women, and that we can do all things. And we have this amount of time to do it in, and whatever time we have, most of the time we share, we spend, and we give to others. And when it comes down to ourselves, we are all out of time.
Yeah.
And that's not a good place to be in. It's not a good place to be in.
No,
But
it's a
sometimes,
really good way to build resentment.
uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're giving, and then you have a moment where you need someone to take care of you, and you realize that no one's taking care of, no one's stepping in, it's a really good way to kind of build that resentment and guilt trip people into being there for you. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
find balance and
Yeah.
learn to look within yourself for some levels of fulfillment.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. You would say you were just going to say that, and then I was thinking, when you realize what's going on, by that time you are at, you're at the end of the wick. I mean, you're really in a pretty much in a bad place.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you really don't know how to get out of that place. So self-care, it's very, 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 very important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now my next question is, what does self-care means? What does it mean to you in the context of mental health? You know, we always hear self-care, and sometimes, a lot of times, we think self-care is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, self-care for a lot of us is getting our nails done, our hair done, our feet done, a complete makeover, a massage, you know. We think getting those things done is self-care. And it really is, taking care of yourself, getting your 8 hours of sleep every night. Those are some things of self-care. But I'm asking you the question, what does it mean concerning self-care in the context of mental health? I think that's two different things.
Yeah. So to your point, all those things, I believe that is a form of self-care. If you are doing things to make you feel good about yourself, that is absolutely a form of self-care, right? But
Mhm.
as a therapist, when I think about self-care, I think about the mind, body, and spirit. So we're looking at your mental self-care, physical, spiritual, emotional, intellectual, social, and even like environmental, like where are you?
Mhm.
So as a because all these things can affect your mental well-being. So when I think of self-care, I think about the importance of being more holistic and making sure
Mhm.
that we are being restorative. So examples, I might be getting ahead of myself here, but I'll tell you this. Some examples of self-care are those things, but it could be sitting down with the book for 15 minutes out of the day. It
Mhm.
could be sitting in the driveway for 10 minutes before you walk in the door to give
Mhm.
yourself some time to decompress from your long day at work or wherever
Mhm.
you've been. It could
Mhm.
be scheduling your doctor's appointments.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because when we're taking care of other people, we'll schedule our kids' doctor's appointments, no problem. We'll make sure that they
Mhm.
get to the dentist. We'll make sure that our husbands get the care that they
Yep.
need. But then
Yep.
us, like, no, I'll be okay. No, I'll
Yep.
be okay. It's scheduling your doctor's appointments. It's making sure that you're eating well, eating foods that are restorative to your body. It may be going for a walk, doing some form of exercise. But it's all about restoring yourself. It's about taking care of the whole self. You know, you talked about the superwoman complex earlier, where we put the S on our chest and we will try our best to do everything. And we want to operate like a well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
but well-oiled or, well-oiled machines have lubrication. If they don't have that lubrication, they break down.
Yeah.
Self-care is lubrication. It's making sure that you are taken care of. I'm trying not to get too soapboxy here, but
Yeah.
it's all about making sure that your needs are met. Because when you're raising kids, guess what? They're gonna grow up
Yeah.
and they're gonna go off, they're gonna live their life, and then you're gonna
Mhm.
be at home without them.
Mhm.
It's important to also make sure that you know yourself.
Mhm.
And that's what self-care is a major part of as well. Self-identity, knowing who you are, knowing your needs, so that you can work on making sure that your needs are getting met as well.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So you put it all in a nutshell in regards to self-care and mental health. Now, I want to move a little bit away from that
Mhm.
and talk about something else that's very important to us, especially as women. Very important to us, especially as women, and that is relationships.
Mhm. Mhm.
I want to ask you, how do you look at or define or explain the concept of setting boundaries? And we talk about relationships, viewers, setting boundaries in relationships. Because, Kristyn, sometimes we become super women to certain individuals because we are in that relationship with certain individuals. And a lot of times it's outside our children. A lot of times it's outside our children. My allergies is bothering me today, so it just feel like something that's always crawling my nose. But sometimes it's outside our children. So how do we set boundaries
Mhm.
in relationships to the point where I'm doing self-care for me? It's all about me.
Mhm.
And if you're in a relationship and you're talking about, no, this particular day it's me, um, it could sound very selfish in a relationship. It's
Mhm.
all about me today. You know what I'm saying? It's all
Mhm.
about me this weekend. It can sound very selfish. So how do we or should we set boundaries in relationships?
Okay. Can I amend that and say it can sound selfish to a person that's not used to you engaging in self-care,
Mhm.
right? When you
Wow.
have someone that is supportive of you, taking care of you, it won't
Mhm.
be an issue. But if it's
Mhm.
not something that you've engaged in throughout your relationship, to begin to engage in self-care and set boundaries is going
Mhm.
to feel a little weird and wonky to the person who's not used to you being this new, evolved you.
Mhm.
So, how do
Mhm.
we set boundaries? Oh my gosh. Let me start by kind of trying to give you all my own definition of a boundary or my example of what boundaries are.
Okay.
Boundaries are kind of like a fence, and not like a boarded fence, but like the metal fence that you can kind of see through, but nobody can get
Yeah.
through. You can
Yeah.
see what's going on. People can kind of see you,
Yeah,
but
but they can't come over to the other side.
they can't come over to the other side.
Uh-huh.
That's what I think of when I think of boundaries. In order to establish boundaries, the first thing you have to do is build your self-awareness and know who
Mhm.
you are. Because once you know who you are, you can begin to identify what your needs are.
Mhm.
Once you have an idea of your needs, then we work on communicating them.
Mm-hmm.
So really quick, I have prompts. So these are some books that I recommend to my clients when we talk about boundaries.
Okay.
This is first, I don't know if you can see it. I hope it's not backwards, but it's
Yes.
called Set Boundaries, Find Peace. It's by
Mm-hmm.
Nedra Glover Tawwab. Oh, it's a great book. It's a great
Okay.
read. I listened to it on Audible because, who has time to read? But it's a great book. She really breaks down boundaries. She talks about how to establish them,
Mm-hmm.
how to communicate them, how to enforce them. So in relationships, like I said, it's going to start with you. You have to have the self-awareness. Then you have to work on communicating it. My next book. This book, I just read it this year, is amazing. It's called Nonviolent Communication, A Language to Life.
Okay.
In this book, and it's by Marshall B. Rosenberg.
Mm-hmm.
In this book, he talks about in regular society, we typically speak in very negative ways, in very harmful ways. This
Mm-hmm.
book talks about speaking in a more compassionate form.
Okay.
So instead of coming home from a long day at work and being like, you guys never clean the house, you never do this, you don't do that, I can't stand you all, blah, 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 blah.
Uh-huh.
In order to communicate in a more compassionate, nonviolent way, it's more of you get home from work, take some time to observe your needs and identify what you're feeling, and then you're able to communicate it. So it may be like, when I get home from work, I'm really disappointed when I see that the kitchen is a mess. What I really need from you all is to make sure that the kitchen is clean. And that is making sure that the dishes are washed, the counters are wiped down, the floor is swept, the stove is clean. Whatever the specific steps are that you need in order to have this thing happen, you say it that way. Now we're not getting defensive, right? Because
Okay.
now I've not attacked you and told you what you're not or what you are. I'm telling you what my needs are so that we can get there. But to bring it back to your original question, those are just some of the major books that I recommend for establishing boundaries and communicating them.
Okay.
In relationships, it's not going to be easy, especially if your partner isn't there. So if you're trying to establish boundaries and you're running into roadblocks and it's not working, or you're getting gaslit because someone's telling you you're crazy because you're trying to do this thing and you never did this before. Why do you want to do it now? If you're experiencing that, that may be a sign that it may be time to look into therapy, couples therapy. So, or whatever kind of therapy it is, because it doesn't have to be couples. It could be family. It could be friendship therapy, whatever area of your life, so that you have someone in the middle, an unbiased party to walk with you through this process.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Okay. All right. So now, I still got Superwoman on my mind, right?
Yeah.
Superwoman on my mind. Still talking about boundaries and still talking about self-care. All of this it's just rolling into one big ball. Okay. My next question to you is, in your professional experience or even in your personal experience, what are some signs that someone may be experiencing in regards to burnout?
Yeah. Burnout is kind of a new term, isn't it? Because I don't remember hearing about burnout as a kid. So, it seems like a bit of a newer concept. Burnout is when you give it all you have and you don't have too much more to give. And so it looks like irritability. It looks like attitude on attitude on attitude. It looks like me rolling my eyes. It looks like frustration. It shows up as poor sleeping habits, whether you're sleeping too much or not getting enough sleep. It shows up and by way of dread. So if you're experiencing burnout at work, it's like, oh, I don't want to go to work today. And you get this feeling in you, that you don't want to go there, or even going home, this dread that, oh, right, this almost like this feeling in your chest.
Yeah.
Those are signs that you are experiencing burnout. Once again, if you are noticing that within yourself, I would encourage you to look into finding a therapist, to kind of help you work through that. But one of the biggest, I'm going to give you 2 ways to work through burnout.
Mm-hmm.
First is you're going to have to change. You're going to have to kind of like rearrange your life.
Mm-hmm.
We often think about going on vacation. Like if I go on vacation, I should come back renewed.
Mm-hmm.
But if everything here is a mess and you go on a vacation where it's clean and you come right back to this mess,
Yeah.
you're going right to the situation that
Yeah.
created the burnout,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's important to rearrange things. So if you're married, it's like, hey, babe, I need you to make sure that the kids eat dinner, or give them a bath or wash their clothes, or I
Mm-hmm.
need you to do your own laundry, or can you put some gas in my tank? Whatever it is that you need your partner, I need 15 minutes of silence. Keep the kids away from me.
Mm-hmm.
If whatever that may be for you, but it's going to be important to work on rearranging your life. So it may
Mm-hmm.
look like finding a new job.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, it may look like establishing boundaries in your relationships. Um, it's definitely gonna require that you begin to show up differently.
Okay.
The second thing that I forgot that I was gonna say real quick
Yeah.
is play. We don't have
Yeah.
enough fun to engage in play. You know,
Wow.
you ever watch kids play?
Yeah.
And they have I saw this video on Instagram of this boy. He spilled cereal all over the floor. He was like 1.5, 2. And he was just having the time of his life. Mom was there. He didn't even look at her because he was having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Self-care, engaging in play, finding a way to have fun. So I'll tell y'all a little bit about me. When I'm bored, sometimes I'll turn on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube and I'll karaoke in my living room because who's going to
Wow.
tell me I can't? Right? Or it's singing down, when I'm driving, singing at the top of my
Mhm.
lungs.
Yeah.
It could be hanging out with friends, whatever you need it to be, but engaging in play. And you'll know that you're having play because you'll get that feeling. You'll get a
Yeah.
smile on your face. You'll
Yeah.
be laughing, like laughing uncontrollably.
Yeah.
Uncontrollably. So finding ways to play.
Okay. All right. I like
Mhm.
that play. I like the play. I never heard of that before. Play. Now, is it safe to say that the sooner you find out that you're burnt out, the better it will be towards mental wellness? Mental wellness is big. It's always been big, but since COVID, we found out that a lot of people were missing mental wellness. And
Mhm.
I know burnout to me could possibly cause mental illness.
Mhm.
And like you said, burnout, you never really heard that word before. It's kind of like a new word. But back way back in the day, I believe when my mom was I was at home and as a child, and women who did so much, carried the load, did everything, and then finally one day they shut down, or one day they had an attitude, one day they were talking crazy. Back then they used to say she had a nervous breakdown,
Mhm.
a nervous breakdown. So, and you get to that point only because you don't take the time out, once again, for self-care. So, but my question to you is it good for the viewers that are listening and saying, well, that sounds something like me. That sounds like where I'm at. Is it good for us to examine ourselves, examine our situations, examine how we feel when we walk into that office, examine how we feel when we're driving home from work? Is it good for us to do pre-examinations on ourselves to find out where we are? Are we burnt out?
Absolutely. I think the sooner if you can get ahead of it, that's the goal. A lot of
Mhm.
people come to therapy like after the things have happened. But like if we can get ahead of it and be a bit more proactive, we can work on managing it along the way so that it doesn't reach full on burnout. So questions to ask yourself is, like really paying attention to your physical body. When I walk in this space, what do I feel? Does my heart start racing? Do my palms get sweaty? Do my muscles tense up? That's a sign.
Yeah.
When I'm working with my clients, I'm always asking, like, where do you feel it in your body? Because if you can identify that you're feeling it in the body, that's a sign that you're on the verge of being triggered. And that's a sign that, okay, something needs to happen, something needs to change. So questions you can ask yourself, how do I feel when I'm driving into work? How do I feel while I am at work? And when we talk about like how you feel, what are my thoughts? We don't talk about our thoughts all that often. Our thoughts are not always that kind to us, right? So what are my thoughts telling me as I'm walking in here? Are they telling me that today's going to be the worst day ever and I can't stand my boss and I can't whatever negative things? You got to pay attention to our thoughts. What are they telling us? Because that's inside. It's
That's
absolutely
a sign.
Yeah, we don't think about that part, but our thoughts are very hard on us. We can be our own worst critic. So it's really important to pay attention to that. When you're at home, it's once again, what are you feeling when you're there? Are you feeling seen? Are you feeling heard? Are you feeling valued?
Yeah.
Because if you're not feeling those things, that may be a sign that there's a need for change.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
important to go back to the boundaries. I always think when I think of boundaries, I also think about teaching people how to treat you.
Yeah.
And I forgot to say that back there, but when we're assessing for burnout, we're also looking to see, okay, where do we need to put these boundaries? What are my needs?
How are people treating you?
How
are people treating you? Yeah.
Because if I come home and you're talking after a long day and someone's talking recklessly to me, that's tough.
Yeah.
Trying to think of any other questions that you might want to ask yourself. You can look at how you're eating. What are your eating habits? Has your appetite increased? Has it decreased? Those are signs. How are you sleeping? You sleeping too much? Not enough? That's a sign. Physical activity. Are you getting any? I was talking to someone the other day. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling really anxious today. And they were like, did you drink coffee? And I was like, I had 2 cups and I normally drink 1. And that was it for me, right? So paying attention to those smaller. Paying attention to your body and paying attention to the things that seem to be so small and minute because they're usually really big. We were just trained to think that they weren't a big deal. I don't want to get too soapboxy, but as women, we're trained to put our needs to the side oftentimes. Make ourselves small so that we're not offending the people around us. And which means my needs are not important. It's important that I be humble. I do not preach humility in therapy. If you have accomplished something that is worth celebrating one way or another, I don't preach humility in therapy. I preach, let's celebrate. Let's acknowledge your accomplishments because I have a lot of clients that struggle in those areas.
Wow. Wow. I never thought of that would be an area to struggle in. Wow. Okay. Well, I just want to get as much information as I possibly can for our viewers and for myself. And so I have one more question. And that is, how can individuals, we talk about self-care, we talk about boundaries, and we're talking about burnout. And so many times we as women, we do what we do because we don't want to offend anyone. We do what we do because it is expected of us. We're always saying yes, 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 and barely ever saying no. And one of the reasons why we can't say no most of the time is because we don't want to have to deal with the guilt of saying no. So, how can individuals overcome guilt and prioritize their mental well-being and be guilt-free?
Okay. So what I'll say, I don't know if we'll ever reach a point where we're guilt-free.
You don't
Some
think so?
things are so ingrained in us, but what I'll say is, if we can anticipate that guilt is going to be there, then we can be like, what's your guilt? I see you. Okay, you did your thing. Now go sit in the corner.
Yeah.
Because I got things
Okay.
to do. That's my approach, right? So in therapy, we call that externalizing. So now I'm going to call you what you are. Now you have a role. I get it. You came to make me feel guilty. All right, you did what you were supposed to do, but you can't stay here too long.
Yeah.
Go and sit in the corner so I could go do the thing that I need to do.
Yeah.
And it will be hard when you begin to establish boundaries and work through burnout. That means that you're going to show up as a different person. And oh, is that hard? That is a hard thing to do. It takes courage to be like, nah, I'm not doing that anymore.
Wow.
So anticipating that guilt is going to be there, but then having a game plan. All right, guilt's going to, I know I'm going to do this. Guilt's going to show up. It's going to say this. You anticipate it.
Yeah.
All right, we did it. Hey, guilt, you came. I saw you. Now let me do the thing I need to do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Does that? It's way easier said than done. Don't get me.
Yeah, of course it is, but it needs to be practiced.
You have to do it. It's going to be very uncomfortable in the beginning. As you begin to show up as this you 2.0, this elevated self, it is going to be weird. You're going to lose friends. You may lose relationships. You may find yourself in a different role. You may be altering the relationship between you and your children, or you and your parents, or you and whoever. But it's going to be hard. But as you begin to do it, people will learn how to treat you, and the right ones will treat you in the way that you ask them to treat you.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, Kristyn, like I said, I knew you had a wealth of information for our viewers. For myself, I've learned a lot today, and I'm excited that I had you on because these are some things that we as females need to hear more of. And these are some areas that we as a lot of us struggle in. But today you made it perfectly clear that, first of all, it's okay to have boundaries. Our self-care is very much needed. And you've made it okay that you recognize the point that we often get burnt out, and that's okay. And you share with us ways that we can work being burnt out, and how to even recognize being burnt out. And then last but least, you share with us how to you didn't say we won't feel guilty.
Manage guilt.
We will be able to manage the guilt, recognize the guilt. Hey, I see you. You're doing because guilt is doing what guilt's supposed to do. But we don't have to stay in a guiltful mind situation.
Yeah.
Take it, put it in a corner, and move forward. And call it a day. Girl, I really appreciate you for being on this. Can I say something? What you got to say? And you really had something to say. And so to our viewers, each and every one of you that are looking, that are watching, I want you to feel free to share, to like and share. If you want to reach out to Kristyn Crowder, you can do so by looking at reading the information that's made available to you, feel free to reach out to her. And if you want more information on her, you can always go to Can I Say Something website, where she will also be featured there. And so, and for those of you who do not know, all of the Can I Say Something, What You Got to Say shows are on the Can I Say Something website. So if there's someone that you know and you say, girl, you should have heard such and such, 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 I can't find it in Facebook, I can't find it on YouTube, I can't find it in Spotify, go to Can I Say Something? But once again, thank you, Kristyn, for being a part of the show on today. You did an outstanding job, and I appreciate you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing this platform with me and allowing me to say what I got to say. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much for creating this space.
Thank you. To our viewers, I hope you enjoyed everything you heard. And once again, if you want to get in touch with her, just send me a note. yessay something@gmail.com, or just go to the website and you will be able to do that. This is Can I Say Something? What You Got to Say. I'll see you guys next time.